Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk live on YouTube and StreamYard.com. It is Gulam F. Michael Fletcher alongside Anthony Florio. We are awaiting the presence of Michael Bullock. If he does come in, then we'll catch him up on what he missed. If we don't, then, well, we'll just have to do what we got to do. So, with that said, we got a lot to talk about. We have a lot to cover here tonight, so we're not going to waste too much time here. We got SmackDown Live, we got AEW Collision, also the previews of um, Forbidden Door that's going down on tomorrow night, and we also got a preview of the RWA show that's supposed to be going down as well tomorrow night. So, like I said, we got a lot to talk about, so not much time to do that. Let's just dive right in. Let's start it off, and we do indeed start off with a promo segment by the Usos. Um, really good promo, standardized promo, pretty much talking about why they did what they did and how everything went down. And I thought they did it. It was like I said, it was a good promo, not a great promo. Um, the crowd was really into it. They definitely are for the Usos. So, um, you know, it was fine for what it was worth. Like I said, it wasn't anything that blew us away. So Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, great start to the show indeed, and the Bloodline Civil War now in full effect, and it culminates 1 week from tonight as part of the Money in the Bank event that I'm sure we'll be reviewing at this time next week since it's the show. But yeah, I mean, I would probably have to call this the segment of the night here. No doubt about it. This was the perfect follow-up to last week's social media rocking angle. The Usos were confident, showed the appropriate attention on the mic, and shined a light on Paul Heyman as the real catalyst for Roman's heel turn. Expect the special counsel to play a large role in whatever direction the Bloodline storyline takes through Money in the Bank and ultimately into WrestleMania 40. Great start to the show. And Jimmy told his brother, Jay, to me, it sounds like you made the absolute perfect choice. And Jay told Roman, where you messed up, Oos, you disrespected me and my brother. And Jay said, what we can't forgive is the ones on the outside of the house. Talking about Paul Heyman. And then as far as Solo coach, they said, Solo, Roman, welcome to the Uso Penitentiary. Great to hear that once again. And, fantastic way to start this show. And segment of the night, no question about it. So with that, MF, we move on to our first match of the night, which originally was supposed to be a triple threat match, but obviously McMagma, he's been getting out of control with changes lately.
Yep.
He made a change here, but I think this was a welcome change, if I'm going to be honest with you.
As a matter of fact, everybody was preaching about this, and it's like, you know what? He deserves the credit here. This was a Vince move. Vince was Vince made a lot of changes to SmackDown. A lot of people were saying, well, SmackDown got Vinced. So apparently Raw did not have Vince's fingerprints on it. SmackDown definitely did. And it was LA Knight going one-on-one with Rey Mysterio, and LA Knight winning the match clean. 8 minutes, 51 seconds. Anthony Florio, it's yours.
Yeah. A week after losing to Santos Escobar, LA Knight battled his mentor, the legendary Rey Mysterio, in singles competition. Last night, things turned out much better for the loudmouth villain as he scored a surprisingly clean win over the Hall of Famer with his blunt force trauma finisher. The match never really kicked into the next gear, with both veteran competitors appearing to be on different pages at times, particularly down the stretch and leading to the finish, something that adversely affected the overall rating for this. Still, LA Knight scored a quality win over a guy with a ton of credibility and respect, something that is well for him as he looks toward Money in the Bank on Saturday at the O2 in London. Escobar, defending the honor of Mysterio after the match, keeps his budding rivalry with LA Knight alive as well, even if it is only until the aforementioned pay-per-view. Michael Cole curiously mentioned that his broadcast partner, Wade Barrett, helped Mysterio pick out his outfit. It went nowhere, but it was an interesting addition to commentary, if nothing else. Knight narrowly countered a wheelbarrow bulldog and delivered BFT for the win. Escobar made the save after the match, chased Knight off and stared him down before checking on his Hall of Fame mentor. Solid 3 for the effort here. So there isn't much more to say except, hey, it's one thing where LA Knight qualified for the Money in the Bank ladder match, but MF, as big as that win was, I got to consider this maybe the biggest win of his career so far. To beat a guy like Rey Mysterio, who's done it all, who's done everything there is to do. I mean, Grand Slam champion. He's been the WWE and World Heavyweight champions, as well as the Intercontinental U.S. Tag. Of course, the most emotionally charged Royal Rumble win of all time in 2006, and just went into the Hall of Fame and headlined the Hall of Fame this year. You beat a guy like that, I don't care if there was a title on the line or not, or if he had a bigger win before. MF, you beat a guy like Rey Mysterio, it doesn't matter who you are. For LA Knight, I consider this not the biggest win of his career, unless he wins Money in the Bank, of course.
Yeah, obviously, no doubt about it. Solid match, 3 stars. Like you said, it was for what it was worth. It was really nicely done. So really nothing more to add. All right, next up we have on the show was it, the moment, the unification, the WWE Women's Tag Team titles on the line. The WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler versus the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, Isla Dawn and Alba Fire, the winners of the bout in 10 minutes and 22 seconds, and the undisputed WWE Women's Tag Team Champions is Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. Solid matchup, another 3-star bout. Good for everybody involved. I think everybody looked really good in this matchup. Isla and Alba looked strong even in defeat. They did not get squashed. That's a blessing in disguise. Ronda and Shayna got on the mic, says, "What's next?" Raquel Rodriguez comes out, and they're like, "Which partner do you want? Like, who's your partner going to be?" Liv Morgan comes back. Welcome surprise, and right at the, you want to talk about at the right moment, at the right time, here it is. So really nothing more to add. 3 stars. And Anthony, it looks like, now that, remember, because of the fact that Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler has the NXT titles, now all the belts can be defended on all 3 shows. Raw, SmackDown, and even NXT now.
Yes. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler predictably defeated the Fire and want to unify the WWE Women's Tag Championship last night. So, unpredictably, in a competitive match that highlighted the relatively new main roster calls while still ensuring the former MMA artists, mixed martial artists, their names in the books. As important as that match may have been, what came after was equally so for the future of the women's tag team division. Liv Morgan returned, and alongside partner Raquel Rodriguez made clear their intentions to challenge for the titles they never really lost. If reigniting the rivalry between Morgan and Rousey in the middle of a star-studded feud helps elevate the women's tag titles in any meaningful way, so be it. A better-than-expected match, a notable return, and the setup for the next big feud in women's tag wrestling helped elevate the entire segment. Raquel Rodriguez, she sat ringside to watch high-stakes match. Shayla's interference off Alba and Isla Dawn the onslaught. Alba Fire fended off Ronda Rousey, wiped her out at ringside with a tope suicida, and her and Dawn still lost as the heels scored stereo tap-outs. And after the match, Liv Morgan returned, joining Raquel Rodriguez in a tense stare-down of the newly unified champions. I'm actually going to give this 3.25 stars for this. And I'll even go as far as to call it the sleeper fight of the night. I didn't really have that many high hopes for it, but then again, considering the stakes involved, I should have had more faith in it, and that's what happened. So, outcome never in doubt. We all knew Ronda and Shayna were going to win the titles, and now we got a big time women's tag team title match for down the line. Maybe they do it at Money in the Bank, or if not, maybe they do it on a TV. Maybe they do it on a SmackDown or a Raw or an NXT. I don't know. I don't think it'll be NXT because none of these gals are NXT, but it could be a future SmackDown, could be a future Raw, or do they even hold the thing until SummerSlam? I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and find out. But the earliest would be next week, Money in the Bank. That's the earliest. SummerSlam at the latest, but I don't know. But what I do know, MF, is that this was a 3.25 star match, and a predictable outcome, but this match was way better than it had any right to be, honestly. So 3.25. MF, let's continue on here.
All right. Next thing that we did have was Pretty Deadly. They went up against the Street Profits. Pretty Deadly winning the match in 9 minutes and 14 seconds. Another solid match, another 3-star fight, but Pretty Deadly continues that heel-like tendencies, stealing the matchup, getting that leverage victory, and they keep their momentum going. Pretty Deadly doing whatever they need to do to get the job done. This time, Street Profits is the victim of it, and Anthony Florio, Pretty Deadly's making a pretty good march here as they're making a run at their date with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships.
And how long was that match with the Street Profits?
9:43.
9:43. All right. All right. A mostly unnecessary Grayson Waller effect featuring Pretty Deadly gave way to a tag team match against the Street Profits. It became abundantly clear in both the promo segment and in-ring action that Elvis and Kit Wilson were absolutely ready for the main roster. Great characters and equally strong in-ring competitors, they have managed to hang with stars with considerable main roster experience. They will face their strongest test to date next Friday night at the O2 in London when they challenge Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. On the heels of a victory over Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins last night, the flamboyant villains have momentum on their side, and if it was not for the champions' considerable stature in WWE, they would be a candidate to win the titles. As it is now, they are a team with a ton of promise and potential to be the centerpiece of the tag division for the foreseeable future. And during the Grayson Waller segment, Prince asked, what's so confusing about a team that has won WWE championships before? What's so confusing about a team that has unified championships even? Frustrated by the dismissal of Pretty Deadly as contenders. And then the Street Profits interrupted and set up a tag match with Pretty Deadly. And then Prince rolled Dawkins up and with some added leverage scored the win. It wasn't pulling the tights. He had the feet on the ropes and his partner held onto him. So, yeah. But other than that, though, another 3.25 star match. With a little more time, it would have been even better. But, if we had chopped that segment out altogether and if it had been all match, we would have been talking 3.5, 3.75. But I can only give this 3.25, but it was still a very good match between two very good teams. And predictable outcome, but this was the good predictable outcome because MF, we all know Pretty Deadly needed the win way more than the Profits did. It's not going to hurt the Profits at all. Pretty Deadly needed it a lot more if we're going to take them seriously as serious threats to KO and Sami, even though I think KO and Sami are going to eke it out next week. That's what I think.
Well, we'll see. I think so too. So we'll see. Moving on. The only match that we're not going to be talking about this week, unfortunately, Charlotte Flair versus Lacey Evans. Charlotte wins it in 2:43. The match didn't really do anything. Asuka came out, attacked Charlotte after the match. That's just to add a little fuel to their championship match next week from the O2. And then, of course, that leads us to the main event. Sheamus versus Solo Sikoa. Basically, earlier in the night, Solo came out, Rich Holland, there was a little bit of a bump. Solo embryonic spiked some. Sheamus got pissed. Basically, he's like, I want Solo in a match. Adam Pearce said, all right, let me see what I can do. And the match was made official. Winner of the bout in 14 minutes and 50 seconds was Solo Sikoa. Obviously, fight of the night. This was a hoss fight. These guys went at it. It was a really good match. Uh, uh, battle lines were drawn, man. They really had nothing else to do there. They just went at it, and I really enjoyed it. This was easily 3.5 to 3 3/4. Usos came out to jump Solo after the match was over. Good little heat for them. All in all, great way to close the show. So, Anthony, it's yours.
3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. The product of the heels' unprovoked backstage attack on Ridge Holland. The main event of last night's show saw the unstoppable Solo Sikoa battle Sheamus in a physical main event. The match continued the Celtic Warriors' hot streak of strong in-ring showings, while Solo continued his growth and evolution as an in-ring competitor by working alongside one of the best WWE has to offer. The finish may not have been the most inspired, and Sheamus probably did not need protecting to that extent, but it did set up the Usos returning to the ring and standing tall for the second consecutive week. Hopefully, this is not all to set up the heels getting the win in London, because if that's the case, the entire story is for naught. Sikoa delivered a Samoan drop to Sheamus on the arena floor to halt the former WWE champion's momentum and seize control of the bout. Sikoa countered a bro kick with a super kick, only for Sheamus to rock him with a jumping knee on the rebound. Chants of "This is awesome" spilled from the stands. Sheamus attempted the Celtic cross, but his injured back gave out, allowing Sikoa to deliver an amniotic spike and follow up with a Uranagi on the announce table. And then Solo delivered a running hip attack that drove Sheamus to the timekeeper's position. As Sikoa threatened further damage, the Usos hit the ring and took down their younger brother with a barrage of super kicks. Yes, 3.5, 3 3/4 of a star, fight of the night. And with that, I will get into the overall review here. Last night's show did an admirable job of looking toward next week's episode and on a grander scale, the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. The in-ring action, particularly in the form of the tag team matches in the main event, was solid, and there was a noteworthy return in the form of Liv Morgan. With that said, it is clear there were changes made to the script that negated several segments of television that occurred last week with no explanation for the advertised matches not occurring. Simply pretending something did not happen because someone else flexed their authority and made major creative changes is insulting to the viewer's intelligence and exactly the sort of thing that frustrated fans and turned them off of WWE prior to Triple H's rise to power last summer. Hopefully, this was an anomaly because disjointed creative at a time when the company is hot and fans are tuning out to television and live events is not something it needs. But I am going to give this somewhere around maybe 7.5 out of 10 on this one. So only one bad match, and that was the Charlotte and Lacey. That was a dud, obviously. But let me just say it like this: when it comes to next week with Charlotte and Asuka, say it like this: the match between Charlotte and Asuka is bound to be great, and we've seen that particular matchup before, and it's always been great. One can only hope, though, that the outcome is not the same as it was at their now infamous WrestleMania 34 match, where Charlotte ended Asuka's 914-day undefeated streak, and especially considering Asuka just won the title last month in Saudi Arabia at Night of Champions. And of course, the incoming Charlotte and Bianca program would understandably create that nervousness on the part of Asuka fans who have seen her shoved to the background on more than one occasion in the past. But just wanted to get that off my chest there. So I'd say 7.5 for this show last night. Good show, and not much more to say. MF, your overall thoughts on last night's SmackDown, and then we'll get into AEW Collision from the arena formerly known as the Air Canada Centre in Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say is that it is a 7 out of 10. I thought it was a really good show. There was only really one bad match the whole night, and everything else was solid to good. So nothing great, but solid to good. And yeah, there's really nothing more to add. So AEW Collision, we started out with a promo segment, Sting and Darby Allin. Then we were waiting to hear who they were going to introduce. Obviously, Chris Jericho comes out with Minoru Suzuki, and they basically cut out a promo. And basically, Sting and Darby Allin dropped the bomb and said that, you know what? Here's the guy. Here's the guy that basically was going to be our partner. The next thing you know, it was who I thought it was. Former IWGP Heavyweight Champion, former IWGP Intercontinental Champion, and the original leader of Los Ingobernables de Japón. It was Tetsuya Naito. Tranquilo, accepte. This was what I was hoping for. This was the guy I thought it was going to be. And that's why I didn't want to tip my hand. I didn't want to tip the hand because if it was him, I was going to lose my mind. And sure enough, I marked when I heard it was Naito. Naito is one of those dudes that is, yeah, he's amazing. He's great. He's a badass. He's exactly what Sting and Darby needed, especially to neutralize Minoru Suzuki. That's the perfect guy to neutralize him. He's just crazy and dangerous as well. And yes, there is a rivalry between Jericho and Naito as well. So it does fit the bill as well. So unbelievable announcement, incredible turn of events. Really nothing more to add. And yeah, Anthony Florio, it's Naito. It's the leader of Los Ingobernables de Japón. And this guy, get ready.
I'm taking a wild guess. This was the guy that you predicted the other night, and
Yes.
I figured it was. All right. So all right. This segment wasn't particularly memorable, but it worked to build tension between the two teams. There might be some fans who don't know who Tetsuya Naito is, but a quick YouTube search will tell you everything you need to know. The combination of Chris Jericho and Minoru Suzuki is so weird. They just don't feel like their characters would be friends. The crowd wants to cheer for Suzuki, and AEW would be wise to allow him to work solo so the crowd can get behind him. And Suzuki smiling at the announcement of Naito was a nice touch. But yes, last year's Forbidden Door was an injury-plagued card. This time around, this card is shaping up to be it's already way better than last year. There is no doubt about that in my mind whatsoever. And because we got a lot more, we got so many big names, and on a card that's already got Kazuchika Okada and Hiroshi Tanahashi and Will Ospreay and the whole nine. Now you add Naito to it. Holy wowzers! This thing is going to be insane. This thing is, and if this all goes well, this event could go down, could end up being an early candidate for pay-per-view of the year. That's how great this is going to be. So there's no doubt about this one whatsoever. It's going to be a hell of a match. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but yeah, Tetsuya Naito with Sting and Darby Allin against Jericho, Minoru, Bowling Ball Head Suzuki, and Sammy Guevara. Yeah, that's going to be on a card that's stacked with show stealers. I mean, this is already shaping up to be the pay-per-view of the year so far, if all goes well. So, great announcement here. I kind of thought it was going to be Naito myself, and that's no surprise. So with that, MF set me up for the first match of the night.
All right, first fight of the night. We had was Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Swerve Strickland, and it was Hiroshi Tanahashi winning the match in 10 minutes and 55 seconds.
Solid back and forth encounter between two guys who have similar skills. You tell both men were holding back to keep Tanahashi healthy for his huge match tomorrow night against MJF. But they still managed to make the bout feel competitive. This was quite a bit of showboating which the crowd seemed to enjoy. It was not an instant classic, but it was decent enough to give unfamiliar fans an idea of who Tanahashi is before he faces MJF for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Tanahashi almost slipped off the top turnbuckle when he was setting up for his finisher, but Swerve was smart enough to help him cover for the misstep. And then Tanahashi scored the win and celebrated for a moment before MJF's music hit. The AEW champion appeared on the Tron and promised to embarrass him at Forbidden Door. And he said Tony Khan agreed to put their match on first so he could get out of Toronto as fast as possible. It's a little surprising AEW would pair Tanahashi with someone who was in a major feud instead of someone who could easily take the loss without suffering. Tanahashi seemed to be moving a little slow when the match got going, but he picked up the pace as time went on. He's 46 years old, so we can't expect it to move like he did 10, 15 years ago anymore. Swerve's kicks always looked like they made a little more impact than most. The one he hit while Tanahashi was trapped in the apron looked great. And Tanahashi needs to put a little more impact on his body slam. The one he hit near the corner looked more like he was gingerly setting Swerve down than trying to hurt him. But I will give this about 3.25 stars for the effort. So MF, Tanahashi gets the momentum going into the big match with MJF tomorrow night for the AEW Championship. And it was confirmed it's going to lead off Forbidden Door tomorrow night.
Yeah, very rare because if you already heard the rumors going around, MJF and Tanahashi are starting it off, and as of now, the main event is actually Kazuchika Okada going one-on-one with Bryan Danielson. So that is right now being pegged as the main event for the show tomorrow night. So, I mean, yeah, you're setting yourselves up really well with this more than anything else. There's a big three in New Japan, and AEW's got the big three. They were able to get the big three. Tanahashi, Okada, Naito. That is their big three. That's their holy trinity that they rely on. Those are we witnessed not too long ago where they talked about the 4 pillars in AEW. Well, there's a trinity, what they call the holy trinity of New Japan, that's been basically the stars of wrestling for this company for the last, I want to say, about 10 or 15 years, and that's been Naito, Tanahashi, and Okada. And now we're seeing it right before our very eyes, the 3 biggest names in New Japan that are going to be there tomorrow night. So, this was a solid match. It was a 3-star bout. Really nothing more to add there. And once we get into that, next matchup on the fight card that we had was Brody King versus Andrade El Idolo, and it was Andrade winning the match in 12 minutes and 55 seconds. So, yes, solid bout. Good match. Of course, the interference laying to the DQ as Buddy Matthews does attack him. So, I mean, yes, it was fine for what it was worth more than anything else. But, it is what it is. So, could have been better in certain areas, but, it was fine. So, really nothing more to add. And, Anthony, I give it to you as I'll give it another 3 stars.
3.25, 3.5. This bout was very physical and allowed both men to shine in different ways. They made sure the crowd got its money's worth for this show. Julia Hart distracted Andrade by picking up his mask, but it only stopped him from putting on the figure 8 momentarily. Once he got it locked in, Buddy Matthews slid into the ring and attacked him out of nowhere to cause a disqualification. Malachi Black appeared on the Tron while the rest of House of Black posed in the ring. The outcome might not make a lot of people happy, but everything about this contest ruled. It was a fantastic match. Brody King is probably one of the most legitimately intimidating pro wrestlers in the world. Everything about him says, don't screw with me. Andrade does not need Jose or LFI. He is a star on his own and should remember a solo act. The zipper on Andrade's jacket was comically large. Julia Hart is such a great, subtle presence at ringside. You never quite know if she's going to do anything, which makes her that much more fun to watch as he paces around the ring. They were swinging for the fences with those chops, and the one King used send Andrade out of the ring was nasty. King grabbing Andrade's pectoral muscle and squeezing it as hard as he could looked incredibly painful. It's one of those things that only works for somebody with huge hands like King. So this was three. It was 3.5, but I got to bump it down to 3.25 for the disqualification. But it was, I would say, the second best fight of the night on this show. So with all that being said, MF set me up for the next one.
Owen Hart Memorial Tournament matchup on the women's side. Willow Nightingale going one-on-one with Nyla Rose. Willow Nightingale advances next round. 8 minutes and 55 seconds victory. Anthony, it's yours.
3 stars. Let me say this. These are 2 of the most powerful women, if not the 2 most powerful women in AEW. So they were trying to test each other's strength early on. The pace was a bit slower in places than it should have been, but overall, this was a solid encounter between 2 competitors with a lot of similar attributes. After hitting a pounce, Willow finished Rose off with a doctor bomb for the pin and the win. The Outcast then showed up and surrounded the ring, but Sky Blue ran to the ring with a steel chair to even the odds and send the Outcast packing. There was no fight, but this sets up the women's title match for tomorrow night between Toni Storm and Willow Nightingale. Christian, and the test of strength was a fun spot, especially with how Willow countered out of it. So I'll give it that. So I'll say this is about a solid 3-star effort, and no surprise with the outcome. Willow winning, they had to give her the momentum because she challenges Toni Storm for the women's title tomorrow night. So she needed that momentum, and we'll see what happens. So solid 3. So MF, your thoughts?
Yeah, agreed. Solid 3. I don't think there's really nothing more to add there, so we're just gonna move right on along. Then after that, we had ourselves a squash fight, as it was destroyed a guy in a minute and 35 seconds. Dud, worst fight of the night. Then we get into the main event, which was the 8-man tag. CM Punk, Ricky Starks, and FTR going up against the Golden Bullet Club and the Guns. When it was all said and done, the face team winning the match by the time of 23 minutes and 45 seconds. 4.5 to 4.75 of a star. Obviously, it was going to be the fight of the night, and it lived up to the hype. Did a really good job. Nothing more for me to say. It served its purpose. Everybody did their roles really well. It was slow in certain parts, but boy, did it kick in. That final 5-10 minutes of the match was when it really exploded. Like I said, 4.5. So Anthony, it's yours.
Crowd was incredibly vocal throughout the entire match. Both teams were being booed and cheered depending on who was in the ring at any given time. So it was hard to tell if either side had more support than the other. This was a fun match, but the crowd's strong reactions to Punk were distracting at times. Everyone did a good job playing their part, so the majority of what we saw was solid. Punk was definitely embracing some of the boo he was getting, but his team was still clearly working on the babyface side. In fact, they made an effort to boo Punk when he was a legal man, so the rest of his team still got positive reactions. Juice teased hitting Punk with his own finisher, but the Second City Savior countered it. This kicked off a long sequence with everyone from both sides getting involved. The match ended with Jay White hitting Ricky Starks with the Blade Runner for a somewhat surprising win. The heels actually won the match, not the face team here. The Guns, their entrance is the best part of their presentation. The way Robinson and White were stretching before the match was kind of funny for some reason. When Punk made his entrance, there seemed to be more people booing than cheering. He was clearly loving every second of it, though. Punk doing some push-ups at ringside after tagging out to Harwood was funny. Austin Gunn was favoring his arm at one point, and when he tagged out, he immediately left him to get checked out. The high knee, CM Jay White in the corner looked cool. The camera was in the perfect spot. 1.5 stars, fight of the night, easily. Overall, the second episode of Collision was just as good as the first in terms of in-ring action, and it also served as a good go-home show heading into Forbidden Door. Other than the quick Powerhouse Hobbs squash match, every bout was enjoyable on some level. Willow, Nightingale, and Nyla Rose had an entertaining clash, but the match of the night, But the fights of the night, obviously, not just the main event, but also Brody King and Andrade El Idolo. Neither of those guys are booked for Forbidden Door, so they didn't have to worry about staying fresh for tomorrow night, the way a handful of other people on the show did. It allowed them to go as hard as they wanted, which was evident by the huge marks on El Idolo's chest. It was over. AEW did a good job mixing the matches with the non-wrestling segment. The show was paced real well and delivered some hard-hitting action. You can't ask for much more than that. Solid 8 out of 10 for me. So MF, your overall thoughts, and then we'll get into our previews.
Yeah, I'll say 8 out of 10. I think it was pretty solid, so there's really nothing more to say. So here we go. We're gonna start it off. This is a loaded fight card. So we're gonna start it off with Adam Cole versus Filthy Tom Lawler 1-on-1. I'm gonna say Adam Cole. This one was kind of one of those that was just booked just recently. There wasn't really anything amazing about it. So it was, like I said, it was just booked just at the last minute. So really nothing more to add. Anthony, it's yours.
You said it was going to be a tough match, and yeah, it will be a tough match for the most part there. But for me, I'm right there with you. I got to go with Adam Cole to win this match against Filthy Tom Lawler. So I've heard of the name, but I don't know much about him. We obviously know Adam Cole well, and he's right now with a main event push right now. I mean, he came so close to beating MJF in that matchup there, and I'll tell you what, I mean, it's a weird one. I mean, Adam Cole has been outperforming most expectations in his title program with MJF, and he'll pick up a nice little win here against Tom Lawler. And this match has the largest position on the card disparity of any on the show. If we're to believe this will be a competitive bout, we would have to expect shenanigans. But Adam Cole wins, so MF set me up for the next match.
All right. Next up we had was Toni Storm versus Willow Nightingale for the AEW Women's World Title.
Yeah, there's no doubt about this one. I gotta go with Toni Storm to successfully defend the title here. And I'll tell you what, it's hard not to like Nightingale. I mean, I think she could get out in AEW if given the ball. But with all due respect, I think this spot should have been for someone from New Japan's sister promotion, Stardom. I realize Willow is the New Japan Strong Women's Champion, but many see her as an AEW roster member first, including me. And for the second straight year, the AEW Women's title matchup feels like an awkward fit and not a cross-promotional one in the spirit of this show. A Nightingale win and subsequent title run would be a great step toward making her a long-term star. But as I've been saying, I think AEW is saving the title change for Jamie Hayter at the All In pay-per-view in 2 months at Wembley Stadium. Perhaps Hayter will return here for a face-to-face with Toni Storm afterward to begin the slow build to London. It's a big spot for Nightingale to remove any doubt that she can be a top player in any company's women's division. Storm will be game to help her do just that. But winner and still the AEW Women's Champion is Toni Storm. MF, who you got?
Something tells me this probably would have been Mercedes Moné if she didn't get hurt. I honestly believe, because remember, Mercedes Moné at the time was the AEW Women's World Champion, or I should say AEW, the New Japan Women's World Champion, and there was talk about maybe her coming and that they probably would have done this match. So there was talk about maybe Mercedes Moné versus Toni Storm. That the only reason why Willow got the spot is because Mercedes got hurt. So maybe this would have been it. So I mean, like you said, there's no doubt We know it's going to be her winning the match. She's not going to get the belt just yet. But at the end of the day, how does it play out after that? We don't really know. So I think Tony will win it. There's really nothing more to say. So we're just going to move right on along here. Next up is the Fatal 4-Way for the international title. Orange Cassidy, Zack Sabre Jr., Shibata, and Daniel Garcia. I gotta say, Orange Cassidy, man. I mean, up to this point, we've been thinking who's gonna be the one to take the belt from Cassidy, and yet we have not seen anyone come even remotely close to taking the belt. Now it looks like that Cassidy is a Tony Khan boy, meaning Tony Khan is very high on him. So I don't see the belt changing hands anytime soon. So for me, winner and still international champion, I'm going to say it. I think it's going to be Orange Cassidy winning it all. Anthony, it's yours.
This should be a fun and competitive four-way and yet another great match. Shibata is the current Ring of Honor Pure Champion, and Daniel Garcia desperately wants his rematch, which is soon to be happening at July's Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view. Zack Sabre Jr. is the current New Japan TV champion and likely wouldn't be an AEW regular in the U.S., making his winning here also unlikely. Based on Wednesday's tag team match, the action here will be off the charts with something for everyone. Sabre is incredible, and American fans have been lucky to get a taste of him on AEW TV in recent weeks. Shibata, whose situation with New Japan is an intriguing one, following not only a career-ending but also life-ending injury in 2017, has been a focus of Tony Khan's ROH revival and has not disappointed. And despite Orange Cat injuries, he will win and continue 20-plus defense run with the title. He is a Khan favorite and a fixture of AEW, and this run has elevated him to a point where even the most stubborn AEW haters have to admit he can go in the ring. So winner and still the AEW International Champion, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. So MF, set me up for the next match.
All right, and indeed we do. We'll set it up, and the next match on the fight card is CM Punk going one-on-one with Satoshi Kojima, and this is a part of the Owen Hart Cup first round match. So Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, the winner of this match will meet the winner of a match between Rick Strong and Samoa Joe. Think about that. But from a result perspective, this is as solid a lock as you're going to get. With all due respect to the former champion in New Japan, MLW, Noah, All Japan, and NWA, and the leader of Bread Club, yes, that's a real thing, CM Punk is not losing this quickly after coming back. The interesting side note and story is why Kenta is not in this spot against Punk. Given the long-running angle that has been running on social media for well over a year, Kenta said earlier this week he wasn't doing the match in so many words, including some that can't be explained here, but it's hard to tell what's real storyline, making the situation even more head-scratching. Punk will move on in the tournament, likely against old foe Samoa Joe in the semifinals. Prepare accordingly. CM Punk wins and advances. Lock of the show, no doubt about that. So MF, your thoughts?
Yeah, you're right. I'm not even going to make an argument here. It should be CM Punk, and I think he'll win this one pretty handily. Next one is the 10-man tag, Blackpool Combat Club against the Elite with Eddie Kingston and Ashihi. Man, this one's the toughest one to call. I don't know how this is going to play out. I probably will say Blackpool Combat Club wins it because I just feel like with Don Callis out there, I kind of feel like he's going to be the difference maker, and I think that that's how it's going to play out. So there's really nothing more to say. I got Blackpool Combat Club winning it. So Anthony, it's yours.
Multi-man tag team matches are a staple of New Japan shows. So the BCC versus Elite feud will rage on, but with some new components in Shimino, Konosuke Takeshita, Kingston and Tomohiro Ishii. This is a good way to get this going, but more of a placeholder for the next stage as opposed to anything of consequence. I think the BCC will find a way to get a win, a fun match with, I believe, Takeshita scoring the winning fall. So I agree. I got the BCC winning this match as well. So with that, MF, move on to the next match. Set me up.
6-man tag team fight. La Suzuki Gods. Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Minoru Suzuki going up against Tetsuya Naito, Darby Allin, and the Icon Sting. Anthony, it's yours.
Of course, we all saw it. Sting and Darby Allin's partner was announced earlier tonight on Collision, and it turned out to be Tetsuya Naito. This will continue to build to Sammy Guevara's split with Chris Jericho, and what I think will be a Sting versus Jericho match, maybe at All In. Sting matches always deliver in one way or another, but this is here to advance angles more than anything else. But I agree. Sting, Darby Allin, Tetsuya Naito, they win the match. I think this is where Guevara and Jericho implode, and MF, don't be surprised if your boy Naito scores the winning fall here.
All right, I also go with Sting, Darby, and Naito to win it as well. Next up is the IWGP United States Heavyweight Title on the line. Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay. All right, first fight, Omega won. 5-star classic, amazing battle. This is the rubber match. This is a rematch from that. As much as I love to see Omega win it, it's Ospreay's time. There's too much going on that, they're saying that Ospreay, you're good, but you're not great. That you're not in my level or anything else. This is the moment where I think not only does Ospreay prove to be that he's in Omega's level, that he actually is proving to be the future of New Japan and in professional wrestling as a whole. Will Ospreay realizes his dream, finally vanquishes and puts away his longtime nemesis, Kenny Omega, and wins the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship. I'm calling for the win and the new champion. Unprecedented crowning, history to be made in Toronto tomorrow night, as it will be, to me, Will Ospreay winning the title. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, one of the shames of the often terrible nature of wrestling Twitter is that the anti-AEW crowd has convinced itself that Kenny Omega is the hype that surrounds him. So there is a dismissive attitude toward high-profile matches like the flips and but allow us to be that mindset and tell you all to just enjoy what you're about to witness. For the uninitiated, this is a rematch from their classic at January's Wrestle Kingdom 17, a match that Wrestling Observer newsletter founder Dave Meltzer and others have raved about NMF for 6 months or so. It's also the second in a series of matches that will likely conclude in August at AEW's All In at Wembley Stadium in London. Will Ospreay. I don't understand how average fans see Ospreay. He's ridiculously talented and the heir apparent to Kenny Omega in a lot of ways. But given how much talent is in American wrestling these days, does Will Ospreay stand out as much as he does to others? He's not an AEW regular per se. So how many of the non-New Japan appreciate his talent? On Dynamite, there wasn't anything really done to further hype the match. Kenny Omega not being on those shows live, a Tony Khan call, according to Dave Meltzer. It's an interesting decision, so I'm curious to see how they'll push this over the top. But it's that old way of thinking that I anchor to. But this match's placement on the card will be given that Danielson Okada is the main event of the show. All that aside, the only way this won't be another classic is due to an injury. Both are far too good and have come too far to think otherwise. Since Omega won their encounter in Japan, Ospreay will take this one and set up the trilogy in London, aided in some form by the dastardly Don Callis and or Konosuke Takeshita. I agree with you, MF. The winner and new IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion, it is Will Ospreay. So set me up for the next match.
All right, next match is actually for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Sonata putting the title on the line against Jungle Boy Jack Perry. So, Anthony, it's yours.
This will be Sanada's third title defense since the aforementioned win over Okada, and he offered it up in an open challenge. In Perry, he has someone he can defeat whom AEW is fine with taking a loss. It's clear there's a heel turn coming for Jungle Boy, coming off last month's Double or Nothing, likely to be against his friend Hook, who will be in his corner tomorrow night. That turn could come as after the match, which will hopefully give some purpose and foreshadow Hook's first career loss. This will be fine, but it's not a main attraction. This might be the cool down match between the two the two big ones. I don't know. It depends, but nonetheless, winner and still the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. It's going to be Sanada. So, MF, your thoughts? MF, are you there?
Forgot to mute my mic. So, it's Sonata. I'm not gonna waste any more time. So really nothing more to add. The only matches that we have left are the two big featured matches. First off, we're gonna start it out with the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. The champion MJF versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. Even though this match has been labeled and declared the first fight of the night, it's MJF. I don't think there's really much for us to talk about. It'll be a solid matchup, but at the end, I think we're going to have is MJF successfully defending the title. There's really nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, there was speculation that MJF would no-show the match, leading to CM Punk's taking the spot for a bout that was supposed to happen at last year's Forbidden Door, and thus furthering his claim as the rightful AEW World Champion. That will not be the case. Like Okada, Tanahashi is an all-time great, but age and the rigors of his style have taken their toll. While he still looks the part, he is not the same in-ring worker as when he was winning 7 IWGP heavyweight titles and headlining major New Japan shows. No one could be. But he's still the ace, and there's still an aura around him. That's where MJF, a storyline New Japan hater, comes in. And while fans have been frustrated with the AEW World Champion's lack of matches on TV, there's no doubt he's an incredible wrestler who puts on must-see matches every time he competes. He will lean heavily into what Tanahashi can do and will make people believe the New Japan star can win his title at several points during the match, a la Hope spots. This will be much better than expected and will help elevate MJF even further as his feud with Adam Cole will continue afterwards. So I agree, winner and still the AEW World Heavyweight Champion, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF. Next match, MF.
All right, there's only actually one match left on the card, and it is the one that has been labeled the main event. Kazuchika Okada, the Rainmaker, to go up against the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. Anthony, dream match. Everybody's talking about it. This is one of those matches that you never, ever thought in our wildest dreams this was going to happen. And sure enough, we're getting it. So, it's yours.
And to say this is a wrestling fan's dream match is an understatement. Bryan Danielson was not available for last year's Forbidden Door due to a concussion suffered at Double or Nothing, and thus his anticipated bout with Zack Sabre Jr. was not to be. Since then, all he's done is feud with Chris Jericho, compete for both the AEW and Ring of Honor world titles, have an outstanding Iron Man match with MJF back in March at Revolution, and reignite the Blackpool Combat Club into a truly feared faction. Not bad at all. Instead of running back the Sabre match, Danielson was given a new opponent, one who, like Danielson, happens to be one of the best wrestlers in the world and is in the conversation as one of the best ever do this called wrestling. Kazuchika Okada, the former multi-time IWGP heavyweight champion, has been working tag team matches since he lost the title to Sanada in April, winning the never openweight 6-man tag team titles in May. It's a respite from his years-long run at the top of New Japan and a slight reinvention of how he's presented. Make no mistake, the classic version will be on display tomorrow night. No titles will be on the line. No stipulations are attached to this match. This will simply be two of the best to ever grace the ring, going one-on-one for the first time. It's the wrestling equivalent of a great meal. This will be pro wrestling, and Danielson will be more than happy to take the loss in a classic. Winner of the match for me, the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada. MF, take this home, and then we'll get into RWA tomorrow. The big RWA show tomorrow.
Yeah, no, and you're absolutely right. I think we're about to witness history as it unfolds, and you're absolutely right. The one thing that we were saying the whole time is Rainmaker. That's the one thing we heard. That's the one thing we've been talking about, and I believe that's going to be the ultimate outcome is Okada winning this battle, winning the fight, and proving once and for all that he is indeed the best, the best wrestler in the world. So Okada wins it. All right, guys. So tomorrow, from the Johnson Recreational Center in Johnson, Rhode Island, it is RWA Spectacle. This is a special event where all proceeds for this event goes to Special Olympics Rhode Island. And it is a huge fight card. So let's dive right on in. Let's set it up. And here we go. We start off with a 8-man tag team fight. Team Morales. That is Pumpa Vicious, Danny Anton, and of course Coach Will. They're going up against the legends of Rhode Island wrestling. Thrasher, Jose Perez, and our boys,
Yes.
Wolverine and Danger Boy Alfredo.
Let's go.
Yup, this is going to be the jump off. That's going to be an 8-man tag team fight. That will be going down. Then we have ourselves a one-on-one women's match. Nikki Valentine to go one-on-one with Big Juicy. Then we also got another one-on-one match, as it will be Sean Leader going up against Brandon Michael Thomas, BMT. Also on the fight card, making his RWA debut, Channing Thomas. He will be going up against one of our favorite guys and Michael Bullock's favorite wrestler, Teddy Goods.
Yes, sir.
We remember what happened that night.
Renegade Rumble.
Teddy started running around like a maniac. Kind of lost his footing and landed on Michael Bullock. They were chilling. So, yeah. So it was a cool segment. It was a cool moment. Then we have ourselves a tag team title fight, as it will be Hustle and Muscle. They'll be going up against the reigning and defending RWA World Tag Team Champions, the Dirt City Murder Crew, Jamie Tucker and the Ace Mike Monteiro. That will be going down. Then of course we got ourselves a Pick Your Poison match. That's right, Pick Your Poison has been activated, as it will be Mike Grassa going one-on-one with Jason Devine, and it will be Devin Blades. He's going to be going up against Kellen Thomas. Also on the fight card, we have a huge matchup, a battle royale that will determine the next RWA, Ocean State champion. That's right. It was going to be what they call a rapid fire rumble. Participants in that matchup will be Dante, Denzel Jordan, Barnaby Combs, the Giant Grasshopper, Ryan Frost, Alexander Russo, Tough Talk Tony Spencer, and Sid Morrison, who is, oh, by the way, the backup, basically the sidekick to the Mighty Bosch. The winner of that battle royale will become the new RWA Ocean State champion. Then, in the main event of the show, it will be AJP to go one-on-one with Stephen Luss for the RWA World Heavyweight Championship. However, there's a twist to this. Special guest referee, the winner of the Renegade Rumble, Tom Billington, and special guest timekeeper of this match will be the holder of the Jeremy Bell, the Insane Dick Lane. Prepare for chaos in that main event. Myself, Anthony Floyo, and Michael Bullock will be in the building for the event that's going down tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, from Johnston, Rhode Island, at the Johnston Recreational Center. Tickets are still available for the show. And Anthony, it's going to be something else.
It certainly is, MF. I mean, Bullock and I first joined you back in February for the Renegade Rumble. And we had the time of our lives that night, let me tell you. Nobody more so than me, because I got to meet Danger Boy Alfredo, and it was one of the greatest thrills of my life. And I can't tell you how much
we've become really good friends with the guys too. Like we've become really close with especially the legends of wrestling. We've gotten pretty tight with them.
Yeah. And also got to meet Thrash as well. I mean, I grew up watching Thrash on the New England Wrestling Alliance that used to air Saturday nights on the Rhode Island Interconnect channel on Channel A on the Cox Communications in Rhode Island. I know they don't really do that anymore, which sucks, but it's fine. I mean, I don't have that brand anyway, so it's nothing. But yeah, I got to meet those guys. It was fun, and then Bullock had to miss the March event, the Cash is King. That's the last time we got to go to one of these, because we had to sit out the last two because of
work commitments and other things beyond our control.
Yeah, we had to miss the show in April, and we had to miss the show in May. But we're back for this one, and I'm hopeful that we'll get to be a part of the next one, because I know the next one is the big one, the granddaddy of them all.
Legacy.
July 30th. So hopefully we'll get to be a part of that as well. I mean, but as far as this goes, I mean, it's going to be great. I mean, it sucks that we had to miss the last two, but hey, I'm glad that we're getting back into the swing of things with this. I mean, both events were fun. I thought that the Renegade Rumble was a little more fun than the other one, but it was still a good show nonetheless. But I got a great feeling about this one. I mean, I like this card, and also the fact that it's benefiting an organization that we hold very near and dear to our hearts, the Special Olympics of Rhode Island, and which of course Michael Bullock is a big part of. And
I used to be a part of it too, way back, like in the early '90s. I was actually a Special Olympics athlete.
I don't think I ever was, but nonetheless, it is. It's a wonderful organization. Everybody over there is fantastic, and they have a new CEO. His name is Ed Pacheco. Took over some big shoes, because the guy that ran there before, Dennis DeJesus, I mean, he was the man. Let me tell you, he was. I only got to meet him once. I got to meet him with Michael Bullock when we went to a Bruins game before the pandemic, February of 2020, just before COVID mania ran wild. But I'll tell you what, we'll very likely meet the new CEO tomorrow, and from what I'm hearing, he's doing a great job succeeding, Mr. DeJesus, and I look forward to meeting him. I know MF does too. They do fantastic work over there. A lot of our dear friends from our group outing crew, they're a part of it as well, and they had a great state summer games a few weeks ago.
And actually, they're doing the Special Olympic World Games right now in Germany.
And one of the Rhode Island athletes won silver medal. So a big honor indeed. So, but nonetheless, I'm looking forward to it. I like the card here. It looks great. And about that world title match, MF, I mean, I saw it coming. We saw it coming, at the end of Cash is King. I said, look at that look in Lust's eyes. Look at that look. And sure enough, what's the title match we're getting? So AJ and Stephen Lust.
Well, the thing was, Stephen Lust actually won a fatal 4-way recently that actually did open the door for him to get the shot at this world title. So, I mean, he gets the opportunity. Of course, as many of you know, Tom Billington will indeed get his shot next month at Legacy at the Columbus Theater in Providence, because he will be fighting for the RWA World Heavyweight Championship. But the other thing is, and what makes this even more interesting, you got the man himself. You got the Insane Dick Lane with the Jeremy Bell that guarantees him a shot at the title anytime, any place.
And it's going to come into play. It could
come into play. Yeah.
It could come into play tomorrow.
Tomorrow night. You don't know. Because remember, the Jeremy Bell has been used once. If you remember our good buddy Frankie Bones, he cashed in on the Ocean State title. We didn't think it was even possible.
Yeah.
And at the end he won the championship.
Yeah, Renegade Rumble, February. Yeah, I mean, and that was when you and Bullock had that fun little moment when you guys were pounding on the ring there. I'll never forget that. I mean, that's a visual that will never leave my memory for as long as I live. But I mean, that's what put the February show over the top for me. But I'm guessing Frank Bones. What happened to Frank Bones? Did he suffer an injury, and that's why that Ocean State title's on the line?
He actually, unfortunately for Frankie Bones, he actually he got hurt. I don't know if it was a training or if it was a match, but he actually broke his ankle. So he's actually out right now with injury.
And that's why we have that battle royale for
exactly. He had to forfeit the belt. But Frank Bones has said that he will be there tomorrow night to witness the history being made.
All right. So what do we got? 2 title matches? 3 title matches?
3 title fights.
All right. It's gonna be great. And like I said, it sucked that we had to miss the last 2, but I got a good feeling about this one. I mean, I can't wait. It's gonna be a great event, and to have the 3 of us there this time, with Bullock there. Let me tell you, when Bullock was with us in February, Renegade Rumble, did he get into it? Oh my!
Oh yeah.
He was basically a life of the party, if you will. And don't be surprised if he's the life of the party again here. So we're gonna have a lot of fun. And MF, I know we'll do the commentary thing, and I know you said our good friend Jen Ellis was a big fan of it. So you got to give the people what they want. So
yeah,
that's exactly what we're gonna do. So it's gonna be a great event. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to being there with you, MF, and with Bullock and the amazing men and women of the RWA. They do a great job, and can't wait to see you all. And I can't wait to see our boys, DB and Wolvie. Can't wait to see them, and of course Thrasher and Jose Perez as well. It's gonna be a great event. I can't wait to see it. And well, I don't know what else there is to say except let's put the bow on this thing.
All right, so the next thing that we do have is Monday night. We do it all over again, starting with Ridiculously Raw, hosted by Anthony Florio. So then Wednesday night, this is where we're going to be recapping some stuff. We're going to be recapping the Forbidden Door. And then, of course, we will do our traditional we're going to do our traditional stuff where we got all basically
NXT
and the Dynamite. So we got that. Then from there, Thursday, right now, light docket, it will be the USFL Championship game, Big 3. This is probably where we could throw in and recap the RWA show as well.
MF, NBA.
Oh, the draft. Yep. So draft night.
NBA. I don't know. I don't think it should take all that long. If it doesn't take too long, then we'll have you. We'll start with the NBA draft, then do the big three, and then main event it with the USFL championship.
Yeah. All right. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it plays out.
And by the way, the Pittsburgh Maulers advancing to the USFL championship game, winning a 5-star classic against Michigan tonight. What a game!
All right. And then of course Memphis and Birmingham tomorrow. So that'll decide the other half.
New Orleans and Birmingham.
New Orleans and Birmingham. So we'll see. All right. So other than that, yeah, that's it. And then we do this again 1 week from tonight. So until then, for Anthony Floyo, I'm Michael Fletcher. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video, leave a comment at the bottom, share with all your friends on all the social media platforms around the world. We'll see you guys on Monday night for another edition of Ridiculously Raw.